You know, I've never been a supporter of any prejudices. I've never been used to living in the past, and I've always thought, who knows what happened before me? People change, make mistakes, sometimes making them unknowingly. What happened before me is none of my business at all. Yes, I always thought so, until I came across it myself. All the mistakes of the past, in the immediate past of my ex-wife, I was ready to accept and forgive. If she had been a prostitute before me, I would have understood. If she had been in prison, she probably would have understood too. But the fact that emerged from her biography, which I learned about, was beyond my strength to accept. I lived with my wife, Aria, for about 3.5 years. Immediately after the modest wedding, I moved in with her, and I rented out my apartment. There is someone to look after, and an extra penny is also not a hindrance to the family budget. They seemed to be living well, and I knew her exceptionally well. This is her third marriage, and mine is the second. My first wife, and I parted quietly and peacefully, even before meeting Aria. I can't say anything bad about her. It's just that we were completely different in character, interests, and views. She has a new family now. She is happy, and I am happy for her. This whole story began 6 months ago, when the management of the company where I work changed. The former owner sold the business and went to live abroad, and the new CEO almost completely renovated the staff, leaving only a few people. I was among them. The new boss and I worked well together and quickly found a common language. He turned out to be a good guy, only 5 years older than me. However, he gave me checks a couple of times. When I found out about this, I almost quit, but he reassured me, saying that these are times in business when you can't trust anyone. He explained that there are no friends in the business, and at one time he was betrayed by people from whom he did not expect this. He promised that if our business went well, he would offer me the position of his first deputy. Despite our friendship, the boss did not make allowances for anyone, even me, although I never let him down. He also did not tolerate familiarity and insubordination in a work environment. In the presence of other employees, business partners, and clients, we called each other by first name and patronymic, especially during meetings. But when we were alone in the office, sipping coffee or cognac, we talked like you. The boss also told me about his family. He is not married, although he has women. His sister lives with him, also without a family of her own, and brings up a 7-year-old son. When I asked who his son's mother was, he turned the conversation to another topic, clearly making it clear that he didn't like talking about it. At some point, the boss asked about my personal life, hinting that he had already studied my personal file. I replied that I didn't have any children. I just hadn't had a chance. I asked to show at least a photo. I had pictures of Aria on my phone, and I showed them. The chief's face immediately changed. His hand shook, and he barked at me, sending me to my workplace. We hardly spoke until the end of the working day, and for the next 2 days we communicated sharply and exclusively for work. Then he called me into his office, apologized, and said that he just lost his nerve. He promised to tell me everything at his son's birthday, hinting that I would learn something important. On Mason's son's birthday, his sister Emma picked me up, who was friendly, and we took a liking to each other. We stopped at the supermarket. I bought a gift. The boss's house was not bad, and the feast was great. Emma sat next to me at the table and took care of me, alternating one thing with another. After the meal, Mason took me to the office, and Emma was present during the conversation. The chief opened the safe and took out a folder with some documents, saying that it was time to find out the truth. The fact turned out to be that Aria is Mason's ex-wife, and their son is a common child. The boy believes that his mother died because the boss decided that it was better for him. As proof, he showed me a divorce certificate and a family photo of the three of them with their 1-year-old son. Mason then kept his own store, but the supplier abandoned him, taking all the money. Banks refused loans due to the crisis and had to borrow from dubious borrowers. When the boss refused to overpay, he was beaten so that he was confined to a hospital bed for 6 months. Aria, instead of supporting her husband during this difficult period, took a lover and went to him, abandoning the child. She filed for divorce, left Mason a son, and wrote a rejection of the child under threat of alimony. After Aria left, her creditors began to attack the family, threatening to take the child away, and Mason had to sell everything to get out. That night I got very drunk, realizing what kind of person I was living with. To leave my disabled husband, to give up my own child. It didn't fit in my head. I told Mason this morning that I couldn't be with her. The tenants were still living in my apartment, so I planned to stay at the hotel. Mason offered to stay with them, and Emma supported the idea. I agreed, but on the condition that the boss would go with me to get my things. He refused, but then agreed to look Aria in the eye. When we got home, Aria immediately attacked me with reproaches, not noticing Mason. When he appeared, she was speechless. I asked her how she could sleep peacefully all these years and gathered only the most necessary things. She started accusing the boss of using me as a tool of revenge. But I didn't care anymore. I threw my wedding ring on the table and said I would file for divorce myself. 3 months have passed. Aria and I divorced, and the relationship with Emma gradually became more serious. I planned to propose to her on New Year's Eve. Sometimes you live with a person without knowing who they really are. I often ask myself if I did the right thing. But it is impossible to change the past, and I would not be able to forgive the betrayal that Aria committed towards her own son.